I'm Dakota Flint, a structural engineer, and this is how I became the involuntary owner of a luxury community. My grandfather, William Flint, left me 47 acres of untouched Colorado forest, a property he bought in 1971 for cash. When he died in 2019, he left me the land with a simple, fierce command. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. For 3 years, I hadn't visited. Life got in the way. A divorce, college tuition, 70-hour work weeks. But every April, I paid the $6,400 property tax bill on time. I had the email receipts. I thought I was protecting his legacy. I was wrong. In August 2022, I drove up to scatter his ashes. The air was supposed to smell like pine and earth. Instead, it smelled like concrete and greed. The forest was gone. In its place, 96 beige stucco houses stood shoulder to shoulder. A grand stone sign read, Ridgeline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. My stomach dropped. I checked my GPS 4 times, hoping for a mistake. The coordinates didn't lie. This was my land. A security guard smirked when I showed him the deed photo, calling me a squatter. Before I could argue, Cassandra Whitmore arrived, mid-50s, all Botox and expensive linen, radiating the entitlement of a wealthy predator. Cassandra didn't even look at me properly. She saw my work boots and my old Silverado, and mentally filed me under poor. She claimed my land was abandoned, and legally hers under the Colorado adverse possession statute. She boasted about the $16 million in pre-sales and threatened to call the sheriff, smugly mentioning her major contributions to his department. Then, she pulled out her phone and deliberately photographed my license plate. "People like you don't win against people like us, honey," she hissed. The sound of a nearby nail gun hammered home the reality. She was not just stealing my land. She was erasing my family's history and daring me to fight back. I drove home, my hands shaking on the wheel, and spread my grandfather's meticulous documents across the kitchen table. The $15,000 nuisance settlement offered by her attorney, Brian Keir, was a slap in the face for land worth over $4 million. I needed a lawyer who dealt in destruction, not divorce. My friend recommended Lydia Chen, a legend who'd beaten a railroad company in court. Her consultation fee was steep, but her plan was priceless. We won't stop them. We'll let them finish. Lydia explained the brutal, calculated strategy. Stopping construction now would lead to the developer declaring bankruptcy, tying my land up in a costly mess with banks and 96 angry, traumatized families. But if we waited until the houses were complete, the developer would be guilty of massive, undeniable fraud. I would then file for declaratory judgment, and legally I would own 96 finished houses. It was a gamble that meant enduring months of watching thieves profit from my loss. But the reward was total victory. It was cold, strategic, and the only path to justice. I hired her on the spot. For the next 2 months, I played the quiet observer, driving past twice a week with my camera rolling, documenting their fraud. I watched the framers, the roofers, the electricians. I even had a run-in with a deputy who clearly sided with Cassandra, the campaign donor. But the worst part was watching the families move in. The U-Hauls, the kids on scooters, the couple planting a maple tree. They were innocent people who believed they were living the American dream. They were about to lose. Everything because of Cassandra's greed. This wasn't just about land anymore. It was about destroying a criminal enterprise. The investigation I conducted for Lydia revealed the truth. Whitmore Development was a shell, and the real player was Cassandra's husband, Preston Whitmore, a known schemer with a history of defrauding investors. They had never secured a court judgment for the adverse possession claim. They just filed the claim and immediately started selling. That's not a mistake. That's premeditated, documented fraud. Everything they sent me, the cease and desist letters, the photos of my truck, was proof they knew I was a claimant and kept building anyway. The holidays are over. The houses are full. I sent Lydia Chen the final piece of the puzzle, evidence proving Preston Whitmore's pattern of fraud. She called me an hour later, her voice sharp with excitement. "Dakota, this is better than I thought. If we can prove Preston knew about your ownership and proceeded anyway, this becomes criminal fraud, not just civil trespass." While Lydia worked on our legal strategy, I had one job, keep my head down. But the Whitmores were determined to make that impossible. The escalation began on December 3rd with a call from a tired-sounding Boulder County Code enforcement officer named Rick Polson. He informed me that an anonymous tip had reported me for operating an illegal dumping site on my land. The supposed offense? Piles of construction debris and hazardous waste. The source of the complaint? Cassandra Whitmore's office, disguised as a concerned citizen. I drove to the property, phone recording, and met Polson. The land was pristine. He shook his head, admitting, "There's nothing here. Off the record, I've inspected 6 Whitmore projects. Every single one had complaints, filed against neighboring landowners, right before construction permits were approved. It's a pattern." Cassandra was trying to drown me in bureaucratic quicksand, attempting to bury me in fines for violations that didn't exist. But every dirty trick she played was only strengthening our case. The attack went public just 8 days before our court date. On January 4th, my daughter, Emma, texted me late at night, "Dad, did you get arrested?" Cassandra had pinned a post to the Boulder County Community Watch group, calling me a stalker who was harassing families and taking photos of children. The comments section exploded, turning me into a pariah overnight. People called me a predator, and a photo of my truck, license plate visible, spread like wildfire. I was shaking with rage and fear. Lydia's instruction was clear. Don't engage. Screenshot everything. She knew this was a Hail Mary effort to discredit me, but the emotional toll was immense. The Facebook post worked. The next morning, my boss, Martin, pulled me into his office. Our firm lost a major client, a school district, because they Googled my name and found Cassandra's malicious post. Martin put me on paid leave, a polite way of firing me until the legal matter resolved. Walking to my truck, my colleague, Jenny from accounting, deliberately crossed the parking lot to avoid me. Cassandra wasn't just targeting my land anymore. She was attacking my job, my reputation, and my very right to exist in my community. The rage fueled my decision. I demanded Lydia file an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order, adding defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress to the suit. Lydia warned me, "This gets worse before it gets better." She was right. The hits kept coming. Pervert spray-painted on my garage, and my daughter receiving a message, calling me a creep. I drove to her apartment in Fort Collins and showed her everything. Grandpa's deed, the tax receipts, the court filings. Her fear turned to fury. "Dad, you've been playing defense your whole life. Just once, hit first." Her words solidified my resolve. The night before court, I received one final, anonymous text message. "Drop the lawsuit or everyone finds out what you really are." I forwarded it to Lydia. Her immediate response, "Perfect. Bring your phone to court tomorrow. We're going to bury them." In the Boulder County Courthouse, I met Lydia, who looked like she was ready for war. Cassandra, Preston Whitmore, and their attorney, Brian Keir, looked relaxed and confident, convinced the case would be dismissed. Judge Angela Ramirez quickly shut down Keir's motion to dismiss, pointing out the fatal flaw in their adverse possession claim. I had continuously paid the property taxes. Then Lydia took the floor. "Your Honor, we're not here to debate adverse possession. We're here because the defendants knowingly committed fraud." With a dramatic flair, she submitted Exhibit A, an internal email from Preston Whitmore to Cassandra, dated a year before construction began. Keir's face went white as the judge's eyebrows shot up. The email confirmed the entire conspiracy. The email reads, "From Preston Whitmore to Cassandra Whitmore. Cassie spoke with our title attorney. The Flint parcel is not abandoned. The owner, William, Flint's grandson, has been paying property taxes continuously since 2019. Adverse possession claim won't hold up in court." Lydia had not just found a smoking gun, she had detonated a nuclear bomb in the courtroom. The Whitmores knew. They built 96 houses and sold them anyway. Now everything changes. Your Honor, this email proves the defendants engaged in intentional fraud. Lydia's voice sliced through the courtroom silence. The email, sent from Preston Whitmore to Cassandra, confirmed they knew I was the legal owner and that their adverse possession claim was baseless. Their strategy was purely mercenary. File bankruptcy. Let the title insurance companies sort it out. We've done this before. Judge Ramirez's face was stone. She denied the motion to dismiss and issued a temporary restraining order, freezing all sales and marketing. She looked directly at Cassandra. "If I see one more Facebook post or one more threat, I will hold you in contempt." Cassandra, who seconds ago looked triumphant, was now ashen. That night, for the first time in 4 months, I felt hope. Lydia's message confirmed the next step. "My office tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bring coffee. We're building the kill shot." The next morning, her conference room whiteboard was a war map, tracing Preston and Cassandra's pattern of fraud across 7 different Colorado mountain towns. They weren't developers. They were land pirates with LLCs. The difference in my case was my grandfather's meticulous records. Every tax payment, every receipt, every piece of evidence, logged since 1971. I could prove continuous ownership, something their previous victims couldn't. Lydia laid out the 2-phase plan. Phase 1, discovery. We would depose Preston, Cassandra, the title company, and the lender. Lydia, the master strategist, explained, "Someone always cracks. Usually the title company because they don't want to lose their license." Phase 2, RICO charges. By proving a pattern of fraud across multiple projects, we could file under the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations, RICO, Act. This meant treble damages, $63 million, a number Lydia wrote on the board. Since Preston and Cassandra personally guaranteed the loans, if their company went bankrupt, the lenders would come after their houses, cars, and bank accounts. She wanted them to see my face when they were forced to tell the truth. The first strike came on January 18th. Preston Whitmore's deposition took place in a glass-walled Denver conference room. When Lydia presented the smoking gun email, Preston confirmed he wrote it. He tried to lie, claiming the title company told him the land was effectively abandoned. Lydia didn't flinch. By noon, Preston was sweating, having contradicted himself 4 times. When Lydia finished, Preston's lawyer, Diane Kelso, stayed behind. "Your client should settle," she advised. Lydia's counteroffer was brutal. $10 million, resignation from all boards, dissolution of Ridgeline Capital, and personal financing for all 96 homeowners to keep their homes at cost. Kelso laughed bitterly, but Lydia was serious. "Then we'll see him in trial, and I'll bring Channel 9 with me." The Whitmores retaliated immediately. My son, Tyler, a line cook finishing culinary school, called me, his voice shaking. A private investigator hired by the Whitmores had questioned his manager, asking if I was violent or unreliable. It was textbook intimidation and witness tampering, a felony. 2 days later, I received an IRS notice of audit, citing irregularities reported by a third party. They were burning bridges and making desperate, criminal mistakes. Lydia's response: "We'll subpoena the PI's client records. If we prove the Whitmores filed a false IRS report, that's another felony." The stakes escalated dramatically. On January 25th, when someone leaked the Ridgeline Heights sales contracts to a local real estate blog, luxury developer sold homes on stolen property. Buyers may lose everything. My phone exploded with calls from panicked homeowners, including a woman named Sarah Chen, who had spent her life savings on her down payment. I realized the profound difference between justice and revenge. My fight was now for them, too. That night, Lydia confirmed our final move, Channel 9 News. Patricia Hughes, an investigative reporter known for corporate fraud stories, would interview me. My message was simple: I am not the enemy. The Whitmores are, and every family in Ridgeline Heights deserves to keep their home. The interview was scheduled for January 30th. Patricia Hughes, the investigative reporter, arrived at 2 p.m. with her crew. She was sharp, wearing the look of someone who knew my case was a gold mine. For 90 minutes, I sat in my cluttered living room and told her everything. Grandpa's meticulous ledgers, the Whitmores' calculated fraud, the smear campaign, and the families now caught in the crossfire. When the cameras were off, Patricia revealed Cassandra had threatened to sue her for defamation. Her only reply was a smile. Threats mean I'm on to something. The segment aired on February 2nd at 6:08 p.m. It was devastating for the Whitmores. The broadcast showed my evidence: the deed, the tax receipts, and Preston's smoking gun. Email intercut with county records, proving the Whitmores, had bribed a county commissioner with a $50,000 donation to fast-track permits. The piece ended with my powerful statement. If we let people like the Whitmores get away with this, what's the point of property rights? The public reaction was immediate. My phone exploded with messages of support. My boss, Martin, sent an email. Come back to work Monday. We're proud to have you. The only message that chilled me came from a blocked number. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Lydia's warning proved prophetic. 2 days later, I found my front door ajar. Nothing was stolen, but on my kitchen table lay a single sheet of paper with 5 terrifying words, drop it or lose everything. My neighbor, Carol, the retired librarian who saw everything, saved me. She had noted the license plate of a black Audi SUV parked nearby. It was registered to Apex Investigations, the same PI who harassed my son. This proved the break-in was textbook felony intimidation.